Have you ever lost weight only to feel more tired, more fragile, and honestly, maybe a little bit older, right? Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that if the scale number goes down, we're winning. But what if the number is actually costing you the very thing that you actually want in life? And so I'm Michelle, your health and beauty strategist and friend, who's here to help you fall back in love with that woman in the mirror so that you can live with vitality. And so what we're going to be talking about today is weight loss in a completely different way, because what's really happening inside your body when you lose weight can be a good thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing depending on how you're losing weight. If you're actually losing fat, then gaining energy and strength and vitality and longevity is that end game goal. So we're going to focus on the end game goal here today, because if you stay stuck chasing those quick results, like those restrictive plans and after those smaller numbers, you might be losing the weight, but you're also losing muscle, your metabolism, and the version of you that actually feels vibrant and alive, right? We don't want to lose that vibrancy and the liveness that's inside of it. So what if the real question isn't how do I lose weight? But instead, I want you to ask yourself, and feel free to comment if you're here live or in watching replay, what kind of body do I want to be living in 10 years from now? Because in midlife, we have to start thinking, like, what does the next decade look like? So, I hear this all of the time. I feel like I'm doing everything right, but it's not working anymore. And I totally get it, because what used to work is not necessarily working in our midlife season. So you clean things up, you eat less, you try to be more intentional, you go out and you work harder, right? And at first something totally does shift, and then it doesn't. Your energy starts dipping, you feel a little more tired than you think you should. And that scale ends up plateauing in a way that you're worried that the numbers aren't going to continue to go down because you've been in this plateau place before. And it gets really frustrating because you're now wondering, do I need to try even harder or be more strict or cut back even more? And this is the part that I wish more women knew and understood, because your body isn't sitting there confused. It's actually responding in a very intelligent way. And so one thing, your fat cells in your body are your body's protective mechanisms from releasing those toxins into your bloodstream. So sometimes you're in that plateau place because your body intelligently doesn't want to release toxins into your bloodstream because you're not able to flush it out just yet. But that's just one reason why, right? And so when it senses that it's not getting enough support, and we'll talk more about what that support looks like later, but it's not going to want to speed things up when it's not getting enough support. It's actually going to want to slow things down, and it starts conserving energy. It holds on to that fat a little tighter, and it lets go of the things that are more expensive to maintain, like muscle. And so from your perspective, it can feel like nothing is working. But from your body's perspective, it's doing exactly what God designed it to do. So it's protecting you, right? And this is where things start to feel a little bit off in midlife, because the strategies that used to give you those quick results in your 30s, right? They don't land the same way anymore because your body is asking for something completely new right now. You might be living in a deficit in certain ways and your body is asking for more. And so if you don't know that, it's really easy to keep doubling down on the very things that are creating the problem. And so once you understand that your body, it's adapting and it's doing what it's supposed to be, these next parts make a lot more sense when we start talking about them, because not all weight loss is the same, because the scale doesn't tell you what you're losing. It just gives you a number. And behind that number, a few things could be happening, right? Sometimes it's water. That's the quickest one and the easiest one for you to lose, which is why we see those quick drops sometimes. And then it will come right back just as quickly, right? And sometimes it's muscle. And muscle is actually one of the most important things you have as you get older. And so that muscle, it's supporting your metabolism, your strength, your posture. It plays a big role in even how your skin looks and holds the collagen and elastin structure. But when the weight is coming off, but muscle is what's going with that weight, you might see yourself getting smaller and that number getting lower. You're not going to necessarily feel great because you're going to think, I lost the weight. Why do I feel weaker? Why don't I feel stronger? Why don't I feel more energized, more like myself? Why am I having a hard time picking up my grandbabies, right? And it's because your body, it didn't just lose fat. It lost some of the very things that help you live that vibrant and capable life. So the goal isn't just to lose weight, right? It's to be more intentional about what your body is letting go of and what it's holding on to, right? Because you can lose weight and you can feel better, and you can lose weight and feel depleted though, right? And those are the two different paths that you get to take. So the goal, if it's to lose weight, then let's try to shift our focus to ask ourselves, how do I lose weight? Because we need to start asking ourselves, like, how do I build a body that actually feels strong, energized, capable, efficient? Because this is where that muscle part becomes part of the conversation and a bigger part of the equation, because muscle changes everything. I know we want to lose weight, but I want you to gain muscle. And it supports your metabolism. It stabilizes your blood sugar and your energy levels. It helps your body actually be able to use the food that you're giving it. And over time, it's what allows your body to become more efficient at burning fat. And I know these are things that you already know, but I just want that mentality and mindset to move away from losing weight to gaining muscle. If we were to focus on gaining muscle, things would really shift. So instead of trying to restrict and take things away, start thinking about a lifestyle you are supporting and building, right? And how you're going to give your body what it needs to actually respond well. And this shows up in two simple ways, okay? It's the way you eat and the way you move. And with food, it's less about how little can I get by on, but more about, like, am I giving my body enough of the building blocks to maintain and build that strength? Because your food isn't just fuel, right? It's the building blocks your body uses to repair, to rebuild, and stay resilient. So if you're living in a lot of pain or chronic situations, it could be that you're not getting enough of something to help with the repairing process. So when your support is there on the right fuel, your body doesn't feel like it has to hold on to everything so tightly, because then it has enough of that storage or enough of that item to do the job, the repair job. But when you've trained it that you're not giving it enough of that nutrient, it's going to store onto things because it thinks it needs it for a rainy day, right? And so then we also have movement. We start thinking beyond just burning calories. And you can think about things like maintaining muscle, building strength, supporting the body long term, using isometric movement that helps improve your functionality. Because that's what changes how your body functions, not just how it looks, right? And the beautiful part about all of this is that when your body feels supported instead of restricted, things start to work with you again, right? Your energy, it steadies out. You don't have these ups and then the crashes, right? Your strength starts coming back. You don't have to worry about whether, your back's going to throw out, sometime because you've overcompensated and weakened in other areas or had atrophy. Fat loss becomes a result of a body that's actually functioning well, not one that's being pushed harder and harder, right? We want to work smarter. And it's a completely different approach to how weight loss is typically thought of. So we're going to think less about shrinking, more about rebuilding, because when you're thinking about rebuilding, shrinking becomes a byproduct. So if you're listening to all of this and you're thinking like, okay, this makes sense, but what do I actually do with this information? I totally have you. Like inside the Making Life Beautiful Again Facebook group, I put together a simple worksheet. You can go and grab it. walk yourself through this just to help you start kind of connecting those dots for your own body and your own rhythm and what works for you. But I also don't want to leave this conversation without a few clear steps, right? Because this is really simple for us to do and to start. So if we're shifting into that building mindset, then we're going to have to start thinking about what the body actually needs to build with. And I know it can feel scary that I'm asking you to possibly consume more calories, more protein, more fat even, right? And if you're a very active lifestyle, even more carbs. So I know this feels scary because it's not what you've been taught, but your body is constantly repairing, rebuilding, and renewing. And it can only do all of that when you give it the materials it needs, right? And so when it comes to muscle and strength, even with your skin, what we're talking about are things like amino acids, which come from protein. And I know that some of these words can feel complicated, and I don't want that to happen here, but you're just thinking protein. So it can look like eggs in the morning instead of just coffee, adding chicken or salmon to your lunch, a bowl of Greek yogurt, or a simple protein smoothie if you really like those and you're on the go all the time. Just small shifts where your meals actually support your body, not just you trying to push yourself through the day. And so if you can think at each meal, what I need to add more protein, right? Because your ligaments, your collagen, your elastin, all of those things, you need protein to build those. And so, you're not asking yourself, how many calories can I burn? We're going to start asking, did I give my body a reason to stay mobile and strong? Because here's what's happening behind the scenes, right? If your body is used to not getting enough fuel and not being asked to maintain strength because you're not working it out in movement, it learns to conserve energy. Okay. And when your body is in that conservation mode, it's not just conserving energy, it's also holding on to that fat. It's conserving the fat storage. So even though you're trying to lose weight, your body is being trained to do the opposite and keep reserves available. And when you start to shift that, when you give your body enough support through that food and fuel, right? And a reason to keep that muscle through movement, you send a complete different message to your body. That might look like a short strength session a few times a week, using light weights at home, simple movements like squats, wall push-ups, holding planks, whatever your ability is, start there. Nothing extreme, just enough to say to your body, like, we're not going to be conserving anymore. We're building. So I need you to start working through this storage, right? So if you're looking for a place to start, keep it simple and add something to your plate that helps build your body, right? Those amino acids, those proteins. Give your body a reason to stay strong. And over time, this is where all that stuff begins to shift. Your body starts working with you instead of against you, right? Energy starts setting out, strength comes back, your blood sugar levels start leveling out. Fat loss becomes a natural result of a body that no longer feels like it's holding on to everything because it has to, right? So as we wrap this all up, I want you to walk away with a different question than the one you came with. Not how do I lose weight, but what do I need to start gaining so that my body can actually let go of what it doesn't need? Because your body, when it feels supported, fat loss stops being something you have to force happening and starts becoming that natural response. And so next week, we're going to be going a little bit deeper, because even when you know what to do, there's often something internal that still gets in the way, right? That voice that criticizes, that pushes, that makes you feel like you're never quite enough, right? So we're going to be talking about how to shift from criticism into compassion and why that might be the missing piece that actually allows everything else to stick in your life.